Hey everyone, it's Will with Military Lawn Cuts, and in today's video we are talking about insurance for your lawn care business. What insurance should you have to make sure that you are protected, because this is a very, very important topic. So I've got my handy dandy notebook here and I want to ask you guys a question, but before I do, for anybody that doesn't know, my wife and I, we built 2 lawn care companies. We're pushing to do basically $1 million this year in annual revenue. So we actually segregated both of our locations to where they are actually separate businesses. So we actually had to get separate insurance for both of these locations. If there's one thing that hopefully you gain value from at the end of this video, you'll know exactly what type of insurance you should have for your business to make sure you are protected from things that can go wrong. I am curious to know for my audience here, I need some help from you guys. I want you guys to actually put in the comments below what you think the #1 most important insurance is that you should have for your business, because there's a lot of them out there. There's a ton of different types of insurance that you can actually sign up for and get protected by, but I want to know from you. So right now, go down, put in the comments the one thing, before you continue watching this video, the one insurance that you think is the most important. I'll wait, give you guys 3 seconds here. Great. If you answered any kind of insurance, you're not technically wrong. And here, let me explain why. The most important insurance is the one that you need. Well, how do you know which one you need? You don't know until something goes wrong in the business. So each type of insurance is extremely important to make sure you are covered in case of somebody suing you, an employee getting injured, whether it's a customer or your own employee. You just want to make sure you are covered. Before I jump into this also, I'm going to assume that you are an LLC at this point, which is basically stands for a limited liability company, and you have established that, you have separate bank accounts, you have everything flowing through your business as if it is its own entity, so that way you don't have commingling of funds, so nothing is really attached to you personally. So once you do that, you have your LLC, nothing's attached to you personally. We're going to talk about 5 different types of insurances today that you should and could have for your business. And so the very first one is going to be something called general liability insurance, right? What general liability insurance is typically you can have a $500,000, $250,000, even probably $100,000. You can go up to like $1 million coverage. But basically what general liability is, it's a general broad spectrum of coverage of like things that could potentially go wrong. Mainly property damage could be, included in this. Employee negligence could be included in this. Like, let's say if they're like weed eating and they shoot a rock through the window and it shatters the window. This would be something that you could most likely claim through your general liability insurance to cover that cost in case of damages done to a customer's property. Or let's say you go out and you use the wrong fertilizer on a lawn and you just completely fry the whole thing, and now the customer's mad and they're like, hey, you need to resod my lawn, and it's a $4,000 resod job. That would be, again, something that you most likely would be able to go through general liability insurance and cover that. Very, very important. Highly recommend getting general liability insurance so that way it covers you. Now, what I will say also, there can be a deductible on this, or there can't be a deductible. And really all a deductible is hey, if there's a $4,000 damage that we have to repair the sod, you're going to pay a $1,000 deductible, and then the insurance company will cover the rest of that. What I would recommend for your deductible is to have it higher, at least $25, like minimum. The reason for that is typically anything under $2,500 to $3,000, we're probably just going to pay it ourselves. Okay, there's money in the bank, we can just cover those costs. The last thing we want to do is file a claim for something that's $300, like a window or something like that, and then all of a sudden our insurance goes up and our premiums each month because we continually file these really low claims. You want it in case of a big case scenario. Anything $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 plus, you definitely want the general liability so that way you can cover yourself. All right, number 2 is going to be honest, These are pretty much in order. So when you first get started, general liability, just get it. It's really not that much money, and it will save you sleep at night knowing that you're protected. So number 2, once you get established and you start getting a truck or 2, you're going to start to want to get commercial auto insurance. Now you'll want to get this immediately if you do have a truck, but most of the viewers, sometimes that they're just starting part-time, you probably have your truck, already insured. But commercial auto insurance, all right? So this is going to cover you for all of your vehicles. If somebody gets into an accident or an employee starts to drive your truck and they hit somebody or somebody hits them, you want to make sure that they are covered with commercial auto insurance. This is very important. You will also have to add them as drivers to the commercial auto insurance. Now, there are 2 types of, really main types of commercial auto insurance. You have your comprehensive, and then you have your collision versus collision here. Now, the collision is kind of like your bare minimum. If there is an accident, it'll get covered. Comprehensive is more full coverage. So that'll potentially include like additional damage if maybe some exterior ultimatum or some type of damage happens to the vehicle. For example, we park our trucks on a property that has larger trees out in the parking lot, and in a storm, if a tree branch fell on the vehicle, comprehensive would cover that. I don't believe collision would, but anytime you are getting insurance, just make sure you're checking that and making sure that you are covered for what you need. So number 3, which this might be the most important one, and I'll explain why here. Once you get employees, see, going back to the original question, all of these matter. So don't try to skimp out on these things. Workers' comp, which stands for workers' compensation. So I was recently talking to a good friend of mine who is doing probably about $200,000 in annual revenue. Through conversation, he said to me that he did not have workers' compensation, and he has had 2 to 3 to 4 employees. And I literally stopped him that day. I was like, dude, by the end of the day today, you need to get workers' comp now, immediately, like by 5 o'clock today, because he had employees that were out in the field working. And what workers' comp insurance does, workers' compensation insurance, is it covers a employee if they get injured on the job. So for example, actually this just recently happened. We had a team member that actually got bit by a dog. It was a really big gash in his thigh, like really big. He had to go to the 24-hour emergency and get it checked out, get x-rayed, all that stuff. If, worst case scenario, that wound in his leg got infected and didn't get treated right and potentially could lose a leg, like those medical bills, that business owner is now going to have to pay for. And at $200,000, that type of process, even just to go to the emergency room, is very, very expensive these days. Having workers' comp covers your business by a freak accident of an employee getting injured, whether maybe they're twisting an ankle or maybe the mower accidentally, hopefully this doesn't happen, but I mean, we're dealing with blades and limbs, and gratefully I have all 10 of my fingers after doing landscaping for 6 years. I mean, we use hedge trimmers and mowers and blades that are spinning, like anything could happen. This workers' compensation is very, very important to protect you, your business, and the employee, to make sure that the medical bills can get covered too, because that's what workers' comp will cover, is medical stuff. So that's number 3. Number 4, and this is a newer one that's kind of up and coming. The 4th one is going to be something called cyber insurance. Now, again, this is kind of more up and coming. It's a newer type of insurance. Why? With AI and new technology and CRMs and everything being on a computer, literally, I don't have my phone with us, but like our computer is in our hands these days. And so we are keeping customers' cards on file, and information on these customer profiles to get hacked would not be a good thing. So to have cyber insurance is a potential insurance that you may want to look at in your business to make sure that you are covered in case of a cyber attack. Now, number 5 And this is going to wrap this up here. There's something called umbrella insurance. Again, there's probably way more other insurance out there, but these are the 5 most important that I see in our lawn service industry. And so what an umbrella insurance does is it acts as a filling. So you've got your general liability, which covers general damage, commercial auto, which covers like vehicle, collisions, things like that. Workers' comp, which covers, medical, people get injured on the job. Cyber is basically, again, attacking through technology, things like that. What umbrella service does is it actually fills in. So we've got all of our insurance right here, right? What you have to be careful on is there are so much fine print inside of these insurance policies that, to be honest, you and I probably are not going to sit there and read the 50 pages when we sign up for general liability. Like, I don't have time to do that. What I'm looking for is the big things. Like, hey, what happens if a customer tries to sue? Like, what happens if we damage something on a customer's property? Like, are those things covered? Those are things that you kind of want to look for, but there's so much stuff in between that may not get covered. That's what the umbrella insurance is for. It will cover these gaps of these insurance policies that may not, well, in this fine print, it doesn't actually say for this exact scenario that it would cover this, or maybe if you're doing chemical applications, that maybe in there it doesn't say anything about chemical applications, but you thought you going out and spraying weeds, you're like, oh yeah, I've got the insurance, I got general liability. You go and fry a lawn and they're like, well, how did it happen? And you're like, oh, I use chemicals on the property. And they're like, well, there's nothing about using chemicals in our general liability insurance, so you're technically not covered. You're going to have to pay for the $4,000 lawn yourself. Okay, that's what the umbrella policy is for. It covers all of the gaps in between these insurance policies. So an umbrella insurance is something that you may want to look into to make sure that you are fully covered in case of a scenario that you have to use the insurance to help pay for an unexpected experience or situation that arises. Guys, if you found value in this video, hit that like button and we will see you in the next video.